this module, we're going to be talking about why wholesale and what you need in order to get started wholesale sourcing. Some of the key benefits to wholesale sourcing are you get to do the work once and replenish those items or buy those same items over and over again. So you don't spend as much sourcing as you do when you're doing retail arbitrage, especially the clearance type of retail arbitrage. You save on hassles like store tax exempt, online quantity limits, maybe stores canceling your order, having to deal with putting things in and out of your cart. You save on all of those little tiny hassles that are part of retail arbitrage and online arbitrage. It's also easier your record keeping because you're buying directly from the manufacturer and your invoices are directly to a legitimate wholesale source. There's less likely of there being a question if there was ever to be an audit on your books. You also have the possibility for net 30, 60, or 90, which means that you could have 30, 60, or 90 days in order to pay for those goods. With the possibility of net 30, 60, or 90 credit, you might be able to purchase a higher quantity of goods. It's also easier to scale up your business because you don't have to physically go and retrieve all of the items in the stores. It can be easier to scale. It's also more predictable, and you can get your items shipping on a schedule, meaning that you order from each particular vendor on a schedule, and so it becomes more predictable on when you need to restock those items. We recommend wholesale for those who have some prior selling experience on Amazon. Some base knowledge that you'll need for this course is a basic understanding of Amazon's fees and hidden fees like dimensional weight and inbound shipping, understanding how the buy box works, and understanding how sales rank works. Here are some of the key items that you'll need in order to start wholesale sourcing. An Amazon.com professional selling account, a resale ID, in some states that's called a TPT or resale license. If you're in one of the few states that doesn't have sales tax, then you can still get a business license, and that should be sufficient for most wholesale vendors. You'll also need an EIN, an employee identification number. This is also called your federal tax ID number. If you're a sole proprietor, you can file for an EIN, and if you have an LLC, you can also apply for an EIN. It only takes about 5 minutes. It's very quick and easy to do. This part is really important, a professional email address, preferably with a domain you own. If you try to email a bunch of wholesale vendors with joe@gmail.com, you're likely not going to see a lot of response from your request for vendors for price lists. It should be something like robin@robinsnest.co or robin@bestfromthenest.com. This way, you look like a more legitimate business. Very important step. You also need a separate bank account. This makes tracking expenses and taxes easier. Liability insurance. And you want to make sure that you're in the correct business entity. As we're starting to become more of a real business, we want to start treating our business like a real business. Some possible business entities that might work for you are a sole prop, but there are some liability issues with that. Our preference for our business is to be an LLC. Make sure that you discuss it with a professional, like an accountant or attorney. You'll also need working capital of about $500 to $10,000. Now, I know that's a very big window. Smaller companies, in general, require a smaller minimum order. If your goal is to purchase from very large companies, you're going to need more capital in order to start. Here are some optional items that can make getting approved with wholesale vendors easier. The first is a commercial shipping address. A commercial shipping address can help in getting approved for wholesale vendors. You'll find that in some categories, it'll be more important than others. For example, there are many grocery distributors that will only open accounts to businesses with commercial addresses. If you don't have access to a commercial address, start with smaller companies and smaller orders so that your items are shipped via FedEx or UPS and not freight. If a company wants to ship to you via freight, like a pallet of items at a time, make sure that you know the extra costs to ship to a residential fee. And also find out what the extra cost for liftgate service is. The other optional item is